Good morning, and thank you for inviting me. I'm John with Maryland Able, and the presentation is going to begin in just a moment. Let me first give you a general idea of how Able is particularly useful for a person who has disabilities to save money, to be able to change whether they are in charge of their own funds or someone else, and how that relates to SSI, SSDI, Medicaid, and other Maryland state disability benefits. Wonderful. So we can go to the next slide. So I apologize for our connection. You can always reach Maryland Able at marylandable.org. You can speak with staff, and I and others do talks all around the state. So you're welcome to come by and ask questions or follow up, or invite us to come and speak to your event as well. I've lost a little time with my poor connection, so we're going to go through so we have some time for your questions at the end. So Able accounts allow a person with a disability that began prior to their age of 26. So it doesn't matter how old they are now, only that the disability began prior to age 26. Able was created specifically to address the problem of a Medicaid limit of $2,000 in resources. So the $2,000 limit affects SSI and waiver services and Medicaid in general. So when they created this, it was intended to allow people who were penalized for saving money to save money, invest money without paying taxes on any money made while inside an Able account. Next slide, please. So you do not have to have SSI or SSDI to qualify if your disability occurred prior to age 26. Next slide, please. So a difference with Maryland Able, as opposed to, for example, some types of special needs trusts, is that an Able account holder can be in charge of their own account. They do not have to have anyone else. However, if that's not a good fit, then another person can be in charge of that account. They call that an ALR. Let's go to the next slide. So when you open an account, this is an online bank account with Bank Mellon, New York. Everything has been negotiated for Able accounts to be as inexpensive as possible. We joined other states to negotiate for this. The state of Maryland doesn't get any money out of Able accounts, and the fees here are the minimum that we could negotiate for the accounts. As you can see, you only need to put $25 in to start an account. There is a limit of $16,000 contributed per annual year. That's not how much the balance is. That's a cap on donations, right? Whether it's contributions or donations. The exception to that is if you are working and your employer does not contribute to a retirement fund or other fund, then you can add an additional $12,880 above the $16,000 each year. So I'm a disability benefits counselor. I'm certified by Social Security to do benefits analysis. And that's what I do every day. And so the important juxtaposition of ABLE is how it works with benefits. By law, a person can contribute and then have in their account a total of $100,000, which obviously is from year to year to year, an accumulation, and it will not affect SSI. You can also have up to $500,000 in your ABLE account, which will not affect your SSDI. Next slide, please. So we can pass through this slide. And then let's pass through this slide as well. If you're saving for a Maryland 529 plan, the college investment fund, you can roll that into an ABLE. And as long as you abide by the $16,000 total annual contribution. When you create an ABLE account, which is all online, takes roughly 20 minutes. When you create it, you have a choice. You can have an FDIC insured cash account and or select 4 different investment choices. Now, Someday, SUMDAY, is the investment arm of Bank Mellon, New York. And it's just like any other investment you would make. You can get all the information on performance and things like this from them. Next slide, please. So here's something that's really significant. There's a list here of who can contribute to ABLE. So I'm going to suggest you put that out of your mind. There is no restriction on the source of funds that go into an ABLE account. It can come from anywhere. It can work, Social Security, donations for family and friends. You can run a fundraiser and then put that money in. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so any type of expense that you pay is called a qualified disability expense. And there is no list because there are very few limits in what you can spend it for, except it can only be spent on the account holder. So the account holder can't buy gifts for people, can't give loans to people. It can only be spent on them. But it's enormously broad. What qualifies as a qualified disability expense? You can use it for a vacation. You can obviously use it for disability-related expenses. But ABLE does not have to be spent on disability-related expenses. So if people take vacations with ABLE, people will buy computers, food, rent, all kinds of different things for that. So it's very, very broad. It's meant to be an everyday checking account for a person to allow them the independence and the ability to increase their savings and have more control over whatever goals they want to target. And many people I work with, they buy houses, they buy cars, they start a small business and buy the tools and pay all the costs. And so it's very, very broad. Next slide, please.
John, could you please turn your speakers down on your computer?
Put it down. It's already down.
Okay, we're getting an echo.
I agree, but it's actually off.
Okay.
Hang on. So when you set up an ABLE account, what you're doing is creating an account with about $25 or more, and you link it to an outside checking or savings account, right? And so when you do that, that's one of the two ways that you can move money from the account for you to spend. So you can attach several checking accounts and move it to a checking account online, and then you can use it. Or there's also a prepaid card. And the prepaid card is a low fee. It's actually $1.25 a month Visa card. And the Visa card is not a credit card. It's not a debit card. It's a cash card. So it's taken wherever Visa is taken, but you put the money on the card. And so it can't spend beyond what you put on the card. Right. So this is a way to go buy your clothes, go shopping, do whatever you want to do, and just keep the card. And whoever's in charge of the account can then move money onto it. Okay. So either that or an outside checking account linked, or both. Can we try the next slide? Wonderful. So one of the fun things about ABLE is that not only does ABLE have no taxes, no federal or state taxes on any money that gets capital gains, whether it's interest, whether it's from your investments. It is completely tax-free while it's in the ABLE account. And it's not taxed when it comes out. So this is an enormous advantage in terms of wealth building. But on top of that, you can set up a gift page. The gift page means that they give you a code. You can share that code with anyone who wants to donate to your ABLE account. And when they sign in with that code, all they can see is the gift page, nothing else. So when the gift page comes up, they can write, I want to give this person $25 or $100, whatever would be a good fit. And then you can either mail a check to ABLE, you can do a bank transfer, but now you can print out your receipt from the gift page. And that receipt can be worth up to $2,500 in a tax deduction for the state of Maryland. Again, this is not a dollar to dollar, it's a tax deduction. So when you donate, when you give money to a son or a daughter or a friend or a relative who has an ABLE account, why not get a small state of Maryland tax deduction at the same time? Next slide, please. We can pass right on this. Again, we can pass on this slide too. I'm a talker. I like to roll through everything. Next slide, please. So MarylandAble.org is the site. They're extremely good about responding to your questions. And all the information is on the site, including the entire handbook detailing everything in the program. Next slide, please. So when you open the account, you just need your social security number and some other information listed here on this page. Okay, and next slide, please. So these are different ways that you can get information when you have questions. So when you're doing this, everything about ABLE is about accumulating wealth. But even if you feel comfortable with where you are, you can still take advantage of the fact that no taxes are charged for any capital gains in Maryland ABLE. So when you use ABLE, it's all about being flexible, spent only in that person whose name is on the account, to allow that person independence, because this is what it's all about. Being in charge of your own account, or a trusted person in charge, and being able to keep money rather than have to spend it to keep under that $2,000 Medicaid SSI limit. So let me give you one more thing, and then we'll take your questions. When you have an ABLE account and you're trying to use it for whatever is important in your life, as long as it's a qualified disability expense, then go ahead and do that, but keep all receipts. Okay? You do not have to do reports to Maryland ABLE, the state of Maryland, to the federal government. There are no reports in ABLE, because the fact that people would have to do reports was thought of as something that would limit people that wanted to open the account. And if you do spend on something that isn't qualified, it means it's subject to a tax penalty. And all that information is there. But keep your receipts. And then as long as it's spent on that person for a qualified disability expense, you're doing very well. Okay. So this is my echoing presentation, which I apologize for. But please feel free to ask questions at this time.
John, we have a few questions in the chat. The first one I see, do you know if SSI back payments can be transferred to the ABLE account?
Yes. So here's a distinction that's so important that you brought this up. Any source of funds can go into an ABLE. It doesn't matter what it is. ABLE addresses the resource limit, which for the rest of us means investments, college, checking and saving. And you can put in work income too, but ABLE does not change the money that Social Security counts or the Medicaid waiver counts as earned incomes. Okay, good question.
The next question, are you saying a parent can take ABLE money to use on a vacation simply because the affected child is going along?
Can you repeat that?
Are you saying a parent can take ABLE money to use on a vacation simply because the affected child is going along?
So it would only be costs for the account holder. That's it. It wouldn't be paying for the parent or anybody else. But if the person in charge of the account, whether it's the person with the disability or the trusted person who's in charge of the account for them, yes, they can make that decision for a vacation cost to be paid from ABLE for the account holder only. And that's assuming that the person in charge agrees. Did I answer your question?
How does ABLE protect the child's funds from an adult's misuse of funds?
When you sign up and you're in charge of the account for someone else, ABLE does a criminal history check. They're required to under the Terrorism Act for many years ago after 9/11, and they run criminal history on everyone. So if you have an issue or criminal pending cases, you're not going to be doing that. So when you set that up, you can set that up with whatever controls you want. But the person who's in charge is in charge of the account and must maintain all receipts.
Okay, thank you. The next question is in Spanish. I am a mother to a developmentally disabled 9-year-old. Currently, I contribute $2,500 each year to Maryland 529. Can I also open and contribute to his ABLE account?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive.
Okay. What is the FDIC limit for an ABLE account?
Everything in the ABLE account is insured by FDIC under federal tax regulation. I don't recall the number now, but it would be on the website, the Maryland website, or the IRS website. They've changed that when they had the Great Recession. Remember, they upped it beyond the $100,000 to a new figure, but I don't recall what the FDIC figures right now.
Okay. Is there needed documentation for disability?
Oh, what a great question. Thank you for asking that. So, suppose it's me, John, and I want to get an ABLE account. If I have SSI or SSDI, I don't have to prove a thing, as long as my disability occurred prior to age 26. They'll just look it up themselves. But here's a really wonderful thing, because obviously Social Security only approves about 27% of applications on the first time through, and many people don't apply at all. So here's how it works. Go to the Maryland ABLE website at marylandable.org. Go to the bottom of the page. You'll see a tab that says Forms. Click that. Then look down the list and get the medical form. On the medical form, it will say what medical providers are allowed to sign it. Take it to your medical provider. Then, if he or she agrees, and using myself again, John was disabled prior to age 26 in accordance with Social Security definition of disability, and signs it, you're done. Just send it in. And I can explain Social Security definition of disability, but you're all so brave to take part of my echoing call. I'd rather not give you a headache.
Okay, thank you. The next question, Could you share more light on the 12,880 contribution?
Yes, that is tied. It's actually the same figure as the poverty income limit for one person. So this is set by federal law. So if you do not have an employer who's contributing to a retirement or some other type of similar fund, so they put this in ABLE to help people save for retirement. So that's why you have this additional money over and above the 16,000 that you can contribute each year. And I think we have over 70 people that are signed up for that. And if you have questions about it, just contact ABLE and they'll walk you through it to make sure that that you or the person qualifies. So it's all about putting as much money as you can in ABLE, even though you don't have to, and being able to save it and make choices. Good question.
Okay. Can a parent, in parentheses ALR, open an ABLE account against a power of attorney for a disabled child?
So I don't understand the word against, but let me tell you how it works. Every state has different laws on guardianship, power of attorney, all those things. So what ABLE came up with is called an ALR, authorized legal representative, because you can't use the standard guardian definition. So they had to come up with their own. So ALR provides power of attorney, but only inside the ABLE account. So it doesn't affect your power of attorney, your guardianship, or any other status in the world outside of the ABLE account. And so you have power of attorney, whether it's the person with their own account or a trusted person they put in charge, but that's not transferable to anything else. And it doesn't diminish or alter any of those statuses outside the ABLE account. So I hope I answered your question.
Okay. Does this account have any percentage gains?
You're talking about like interest rates or investments?
I'm assuming that that was just the question. Does this account have any percentage gains?
I'm not sure I understand that. I'm not a tax person and I'm not an investment person, but there's an investment portfolio available for ABLE accounts, which will tell you performance.
I received clarification in it's relating to investments.
Yes, so that's not my area, but all that information is on the website.
What is the difference between an ABLE account and a special needs trust?
Okay, you're very brave. So I'm going to tell you a very generic answer. Special needs trust, there's different forms. Special needs trust advantages are that they are unlimited in how much money you put in them, and they can take real property, right? So if someone is getting an inheritance of a large amount of money and a house and a car, whatever, then your special needs trust is appropriate for that. And of course, you can put any money into a special needs trust at any time. They're expensive and they have limits. The trustee is in charge. And so again, special needs trusts are very important. And you can have that while you have an ABLE, or either or. Now, ABLE was created to not be like a special needs trust. The person can be in charge. You can have a family member running the account for you if you want. And it's made to be a daily, useful checking account, not limited to disability-related expenses. Here's a simple answer that's simple enough for me to understand. There are limits on certain special needs trusts whether they can pay rent. This is because if you have SSI, it's made for food and rent. So generally you can't use your special needs trust to pay your mortgage or pay your rent. But you can enable. As long as you pay it in the same month it's due. You can pay for your condo, you can pay for your house, you can do all those kinds of things. There's lots of differences between the two. Both are very valuable and very important. I put in the chat a link for an evaluation of the session a little earlier. So please feel free to fill that out. And again, I apologize for the echoing. Do we have additional questions?
Those are all of the questions I see. If anyone has any other questions, you can unmute and ask John, or you can put them in the chat and I will share them with John. We do have a few more minutes.
Yeah. Margaret, this is Anand. Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
Yeah, Margaret. And John, thank you so much for a wonderful session. I had actually asked the question about the ALR. My son, he's having multiple disabilities. And I being a parent, so my question, I may have asked a very confusing one on the chat. Sorry for that. But my simple question is, should I open the account in my account as a parent? Or should I open the account in my child's name? But the question is, he would not be able to manage the account, but the SSI and other inflows would be in his name. Any gift opportunities would be in his name. So John, my question was, should I open the account in ABLE in my name or in my child's name?
Great question. It is only open in the name of the person with the disability. So there is no option any other way.
Got it.
So
Thank you so much, John. That's it.
Yes, certainly. It's just for me, just be for John. If I had a parent in charge, I would sign a piece of paper, get it notarized. That would say, my parent, whoever, is in charge on my behalf.
That we have, John. We have got a power of attorney already in place. And but this is a very straight answer that you have given us. Thank you. We will then consider opening the account in the child's name. Thank you so much.
Sure, you're welcome. And this is 24-hour process. So you can do it when you can't sleep in the middle of the night and sign that up and get that ready to go. Again, we speak all over the state. So, if you have questions, you're welcome to come and talk to us about it or use the website.
John,
go ahead.
Could you post the survey link again?
I certainly will.
Thank you.
There you go. So we have people, who use ABLE, not just for a vacation, for the person with the disability whose name's on the account. But there's one exception if the person in charge agrees, where somebody else can be paid for example, to go on vacation with a person. So for myself, John, if I literally had a medical reason that I had to have an attendant with me, I would go, of course, to my medical practitioner and make them write that out. But then, if that's the only way, I could go on vacation or to someone's wedding for that health and safety reason, then document, go to your medical professor, get yourself a letter that says so, and then you can have that person go with you if that's approved by the person in charge of the account. And that happens a lot because if you're using the Medicaid waiver won't pay for tickets. At most, it would give the hourly or daily payment to that person, but doesn't cover anything else. And that happens a lot. But if it works that the person in charge of ABLE says so, and you've got the medical need for it, and you document, then that might be an option for you. Any other questions?
Referring back to a question we had previously, is there a dividend rate associated with an ABLE account?
Yes, but that would be in the portfolio information on the website. Right.
Okay.
Someday has that, and that's not my area, and it probably will be changing every moment anyway. I'm
Okay.
actually happy that I'm not a tax specialist or an investment specialist because those are obviously very complex issues, and I'm not best situated to comment on those things.
Okay. And there's a question here. Could you open an ABLE account and a 529 account and get $2,500 deduction for both?
No, 529 doesn't work that way. ABLE is the account that allows you to get the 529. I'm sorry, the Maryland ABLE tax deduction for the state of Maryland. It's a different tax deduction for 529, and I'd refer you to that program.
And I believe all of this information will also be posted on the Summit website. I apologize, I don't have an exact time.
Okay, what's the Summit website?
The Montgomery County Public Schools Special Education Parent Summit website.
Okay, thank you.
If someone has questions related to SSDI or SSI and how that relates to ABLE, I'd be delighted to talk with you about that.
John, this is Anand again. We did apply for the SSI early this
Yes.
year, but we were told that this is something that we are not qualified. So we would be appealing again for a revisit on this. But
Yes.
That's one revenue that we basically would still pursue for our case for disability.
Right.
But so yeah,
Is-
you
is
were
your-
about to say
Is
something.
your
Yeah.
child under 18?
No, my son is 20.
Okay.
But
So did they tell you?
he's had a stroke since he was 8 years old.
Yes. So did the letter from Social Security
Yeah,
indicate a
we have
medical
a
denial?
SSN number. He has an SSN number, yes.
Did the Social Security response to your application?
Yeah, he has a
Defer-
social security number, yes.
Yes. So, but the letter you got denying him.
Yes, the letter we got from SSI, that was
Yes.
a denial letter.
Was that for too much money?
No,
Or
they said we
medical?
don't qualify, perhaps because we have we are actually a family that has moved in from another country. So they basically
I see.
were citing something of the stay period. So we will still pursue it, but
Sure.
we just wanted to bring it to your attention. Will that affect our opening an ABLE account? Because we are in this country less than a year.
I gotcha. So you're doing the
John,
right thing.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
There was an additional question. What are the income limits for SSI?
So when you apply for SSI, there's a difference between applying for a minor or an adult. If you apply for SSI for a minor, they use family income. If you apply for an adult, it's only that person's income, even if they live with you. Okay, so lots of times people are turned down because the person's a minor and the family makes to what to Social Security is a substantial amount of money. That very same person may not have that money in their name when they're 18 or older. So there's a difference.
Okay. Then there was one question. Is the parent's income of the child considered when applying for SSI?
The parent's money is considered family when the applicant is a minor, not under most conditions as an adult.
Okay, thank you. We have reached the end of our session. So please, if you get a chance, do take time to fill out the survey. And John, I thank you very much. And I thank you all for taking the time to join us today. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.